Well, this morning, our guest for our mission moment really needs no introduction. Mark Wingfield, please come and join me on the chancel this morning. But I'll introduce you anyway. Mark is the executive director and publisher of Baptist News Global, but also is a beloved member, leader in the church, and also a past associate pastor for lots and many years. Thank you for joining me this morning. So Mark and I both have had experiences recently with families in the immigration process, different phases. And so this morning we wanted to take a moment and to reflect on our experiences of what it's like to work with families who are in the middle of our immigration system and talk a little bit about that. But before I do that, Mark, you led your Sunday school class through an intensive study on what the scriptures have to say about immigration. And I'm curious to know from that study, what was maybe one of the most important aspects that you learned or taught your class?
Sure. So Discovery class is an intergenerational class that meets in the parlor, by the way, every Sunday morning. You're welcome to join us. We did two things. We, first of all, did a 4-week study on the book of, well, it was 8 weeks, on the book of Ruth, looking at borders and boundaries and the story of the book of Ruth and how this informs our understanding of immigration from ancient times. And then we did a study on the words strangers and aliens, as those two words appear in both the Hebrew and the Greek throughout the Hebrew scriptures and throughout the New Testament. And what we found is a very pervasive history of immigration and moving across borders and boundaries. It is the story of creation. It's the story of the world. We often think of immigration as something new that's just on us now, but even though we're in the midst of the world's greatest global migration ever, it is not a new thing in its concept.
Wonderful. So then you wrote this beautiful piece for Baptist News Global about your experience working at a respite center at Oak Lawn United Methodist Church that many of us were involved in years ago establishing. So I'm curious, the theological understanding of migration and the movement of peoples, but what did your heart learn when you were able to volunteer and to be face-to-face with someone's story about migration?
Well, number one, I learned, thank God for Google Translate, which works really well because my Spanish skills are very bad and I have no Arabic and other languages that were needed that day. But Heather and others here were involved in setting up the system that's called Dallas Responds through Faith Forward Dallas. That is an interfaith effort. So this day at Oak Lawn United Methodist Church, I was working with Mormons, Methodists, Baptists, Presbyterians, Unitarians that day alone, and it's a beautiful mix of people, all engaged in this common affair. You've seen the stories about migrants being bussed out of detention centers and dropped different places, just put out on the street. That doesn't happen in Dallas because of this. This is the reception center that's created where the migrant buses come, and it is an organized effort, and it happens entirely because of the faith community. And there are opportunities for you to join me in volunteering. I will be back there again. It was one of the most life-changing days of my life to be there and experience to meet people, make new friends who've just come in. The busload we got that day of 52 people were all young people, all beautiful young people, all single that day, no families that particular day, and they all had places they were going. This was a place where they come, and they all had plane reservations to go out, so we had to get them processed. They came with potato sacks, thin, bare potato sacks with the few possessions they had, and we gave them clothes, we gave them food, we gave them backpacks. And it was a joy just an hour or two later to be getting them through security at DFW Airport, where the TSA agents were searching those backpacks they had just acquired from us a few minutes before, and to know they had something to carry on that plane to go to their next destination. And these are beautiful people. It always, as with so many things, when you meet someone, it changes your perspective on what they are and who they are.
Well, myself, I'm knee-deep in helping a family who is also seeking asylum. They've landed in Dallas with no connections or support. And so one of the things my daughter Jimmy asked me recently when we were talking about the Ukrainian crisis is she said, "Mommy, what would happen if we had to leave our house?" And I said to her, "You know, Jimmy, we would have to rely on the kindness of strangers." And the Respite Center at Oak Lawn is about offering kindness to strangers, and the work that we're doing with this family is about offering kindness to strangers. And I think if anything was to happen to me, I would want to make sure, or I would hope that there would be kindness offered to me. So like Mark said, there's plenty of opportunities to get involved in this type of work, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Mark, thank you for all that you do and who you are.
Absolutely. Thank you.